Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is quite outrageous. The Scottish Government, through CalMac, have just signed an agreement for 7 electric ferries to be built in Poland. And why is this mental? Scottish Government own their own shipyard. Now this beggars belief, right? Back in 2019, when we had that saga with the 2 ferries, one of which is still not sailing and the other one which was taken off service because of some problems with welding in the hull already, right? And it's meant to be biofuel, and there's no suggestions that it's actually running off the eco-fuel at all. But forget all that, right? Back in 2019, when this never-ending, delayed ship was being built, the shipbuilding yard went into receivership and the Scottish Government bailed it out and took it into public ownership. So we own, as a Scottish area, we own a shipbuilders. And we did let that shipbuilder tender for this contract and then gave it to Poland. Now, the Polish yard that won did build some ferries, I think 3 in the past for Caledonia MacBrayne. But that's before we owned our own shipyard. And this just beggars belief, because the SNP are so daft, right? We've got something in public ownership that we don't utilise. And that's not the only time we do that. We do the complete opposite often. When you remember, this is a government when Nicola Sturgeon was in charge. We pawned 80% of our offshore wind turbine leases. And this was the thing that was going to be the future. Because remember, they told us lies that we owned 25% of the wind in Europe. All that nonsense, right? Right. Well, we leased 80% of the leases for, that's I think it's how the waterbed basically allows you to put a wind turbine on it. And every single owner that owns that lease now is foreign. We auction them. And 2 of them are the national, publicly owned utilities companies of Spain and Norway. Spain, Norway, or Spain, Denmark? Norway, right? That's how clever the SNP are. So things that we should have in public ownership, we've pawned them. And we didn't just pawn them to foreign businesses. 2 of the foreign businesses were other countries' national energy businesses. And now we've got this other thing, a shipbuilder, and we give contracts to Poland. And this is mental. This is just not the way it works. These people need somebody to sit down and probably give them a lobotomy because their heads don't work right. Right? Maybe electric shock treatment might help. I don't know. It's one flew the cuckoo's nest. Try that, right? Because this stuff just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Things that we own, we pawn it to foreigners. We own up shipbuilders and we'll pawn contracts to Poland. I'm quite sure the Poles are quite good at building ships. Gdansk has got quite a big shipbuilding heritage and have probably protected that through generations. Whereas Scotland, particularly Glasgow, Clydebuilt used to mean something in the world. And we can't even create an industry of something that we had a right good heritage of. Now Scotland, in case you've not noticed, right, we kind of need industry. We don't have any. Our big saving grace, excuse me, was oil. But the Greens put paid to that with their madness, and the SNP needed to let them put paid to that because they couldn't get a majority government previously and needed to get a coalition with they crackpots, right? So they decided, that oil, that's terrible, that, right? And then we went, well, we'll go green. Right, okay, so offshore, 25% nonsense, right? 25% of the wind power in Europe, we own it. No, we don't. Right, it's not near that. That's quite a big figure, but it's not 25%. And we pawn that. And we need industries in Scotland because Scotland has nothing. And even if we were to drill, baby, drill, we're just about to shut the only facility in Scotland that can actually refine oil. Because when you take oil out of the ground, by the way, it doesn't just miraculously put it in a car and it'll work. It needs to go through refining processes. We're about to shut that. The last place, Grangemouth, is getting mothballed apparently. And it's good. You can save that as well, by the way, because there's a hydrocracker in there and that does some fancy things to oil. And you can make a thing, a really high grade aviation fuel from oil. putting it through the hydrocracker. But the people on the plant have told us, no, the hydrocracker's broke. And we went, okay then. And what's happening is they're going to bugger off somewhere else in the world where they'll probably get better terms off the government there. So they don't want the hydrocracker to work, because if a hydrocracker worked, the loss of £100 million wouldn't be a loss of £100 million. And there's a big market, in case you have no guessed. This high-grade aviation fuel, what it does, it's leaner, so you use less of it. That's quite important to like aircraft people. And it's cleaner. And as the world drives for, putting less pollutants in the air, having something that's more fuel economical than the alternative and cleaner would be kind of good. But no, we'll just shut that as well. We'll just no bother having that. These people are insane. Now, the contract awarded to the Polish shipyard for the construction of 7 new electric ferries for Scotland has been signed. Remontoa Shipbuilding in Gdansk was awarded the contract to build the new vessels earlier this month after a tendering process in which saw off competition from publicly owned Fergusons Marine and 3 other yards. Following a mandatory 10-day standstill period, whatever the hell that means, the contract to build the ferries has been signed by ferry procurement arm Caledonia Maritime Assets Limited, CMAL, and the Polish shipyard. The fully electric Loch-class ferries are due to service Bute, Mull, Lochfine, Raasay and Giga, with the first vessel expected to be delivered by 2027. Now that might be the problem, right? Because we're rotten at building ferries, so that might have been some of the stumbling blocks that we need to start seeing them. The first one to arrive in 2027. This will give this yard in Gdansk years of work, right? Years of it. Well, the one that we publicly own, you and I, anybody in Scotland that's watching this video, we actually technically own it. Don't get a contract. They constitute phase 1 of the small vessel replacement programme, with procurement of 3 further ferries under phase 2 of the programme due to be put to competitive tender later this year. We're getting them. We'll give 7 away and we'll keep 3, or will they just go abroad as well? Transport Secretary Fiona Hislop, she's SNP by the way, in case you've not figured it out, described the signing of the contract as a significant step in the government's ferry improvement programme. When added to the 6 new major vessels joining the fleet in the coming years, these new electric vessels will mean that the government has invested to renew around a third of CalMac's entire fleet. So we pay for CalMac's fleet, right? And we can't build them. I would like to thank CMAL, that's like the procurement arm of CalMac, for the work involved in reaching this important milestone. Important for Gdansk, aye. Phase 1 is backed by a £160 million investment from the Scottish Government. 147,500. That works out at 20 million per vessel, which covers the value of the shipbuilding contract, with the remaining 12.5 million covering a 3% budget contingency and ancillary costs. That might be a stumbling block as well, because we'd need to put in like a 300% contingency if we were to build it ourselves, because we're rotten. We're not very good at these things. As we work to rejuvenate the Scottish ferry fleet and accompanying infrastructure, we're replacing up to 60 new vehicles in the next 6 years, he said. So that's interesting, because that might mean, does that mean delivered? This is the Chief Executive, Kevin Hobbs, by the way. Signing the contract of 7 of them is a big step forward in our plans. In 2011, Remontoa, this is the Gdansk shipbuilders, delivered MV Finlagan, and before that, MV Bute and MV Argyll. So these were pre-2011, and obviously pre-2019, when we had our own shipyard, publicly owned shipyard, that we can't build ferries that we're paying for. This is bonkers. Absolute bonkers. Michael Jagzuski, Director of Commerce at Remontoa, said, "We are looking forward to working in partnership with LMG Marin, that's the ship designer, and CMAL to design, build and deliver these new vessels." I bet you are, Michael. We have experience and expertise to supply the modern, highly efficient and environmentally friendly ships on time, on budget and with a clear focus on reliability. Something else that you're probably better at than us. CMAL will work closely with the yard to progress the next phase of the contract, which will see detailed designs for the vessels completed. This sort of stuff just blows my head. This is the sort of stuff that adults need to get involved in and say, hold on a minute, we kind of need industry, right? We don't have any. The only industry we've got anywhere near is oil, and that's getting decimated, and we now can't even do anything with it once we've taken it out the North Sea. So technically, look at the mainland of Scotland, the actual on land, sorry, not just the mainland, but all the little islands, and tell me, what industry do we have? What industry do we have that can actually employ a lot of people? None. We do have some industries, right, like whiskey. There's not that many people you actually need to make whiskey, and you store it, you know, while it's distilling and distilled, and it goes through an aging process. But it sits in a barrel in a compound. You need more security than you need actual manual workers on that. So we don't build houses. We don't have enough of them. We've got a shortage of them, but we've no like went, you know what? Let's put a program together. Yeah, we pull money out of programs for house building when we need stuff for other things, and then when they need a sort of vanity project, they send Hums in a wee motor, and he disappears up to Dundee and stands there going, "Look, we built some flats, right?" We're rotten. We are absolutely stinking rotten. We get tens of millions of pounds off the UK government through the consequentials programmes. What that is, that's when the UK government spends something on other parts of, let's say, England, and it was Grenfell Tower when we were upgrading the sheeting for these high towers after the Grenfell fire. And they gave us tens of millions of pounds. Can't remember the exact money, but it's sitting. We've never done it. We think we've finished one of them. What we should have done is went, well, it's a cracking thing. We could maybe like create a wee industry around this. No, we never spent the money on that. Don't know where it is. We'll wait for something else. Maybe we're getting that to the polls for our ships. I don't know, right? But we are absolutely minging at creating any sort of industry in Scotland. And it's frightening the life out of me. These people need to go, and they need to go in 2026. We just can't, I don't care how we get there. We just can't have them. Right? How it's made up, I'm not really that bothered. Right? I need to be honest with you, because I can't see any set of circumstances if we replace the SNP with whatever combinations you could have thereafter, how it would be worse. These people are potty. So if you enjoyed this video and you want others to see it, do three things for me, please, or any of these three things, I should say. Do them all if you'd be great. Tick the like button, put some comments below, and hit share. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. But most importantly of all, unless you're these crackpots that keep getting our money and putting it out the way, no you. Definitely no you. But everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.